Data gathering. Unless you have a tool that Microsoft and the auditors trust, and you can push back, you can say, we have a tool, and it covers everything. You will be asked to run the scripts that auditors provide you. Please be aware, if your tool's coverage is crap, if it doesn't cover everything, or if it only scans operating systems and SQL servers, you will be asked to run the scripts. Because what they will ask you to gather is, you will never get to 100%, but they will want you to give them 100% of the whole hosting estate, even what's inside your customers' virtual machines. Their videos, their offices, their other Microsoft pieces of software. Remember, declarations are not accepted. So if scripts don't return something, you will have to find a way to technically take snapshots, take screenshots, do something, but fill all the gaps. They will come back and ask to fill the gaps because they'll make assumptions. When you work with someone like me, with an independent advisor, we'll look at that data and we'll tell you, let's fill the gaps, because that's just better. We don't need to give them ideas. What happens if they get ideas? Audit data, when there are gaps, is always seen from the worst case scenario. If there's a missing edition of a SQL server, auditors will most certainly assume that SQL Server Enterprise. They will assume it's the most expensive, not the free one. Don't give them ideas. They'll attach to that number, and then you start cutting off, and you'll have to say, oh, please excuse me, dear auditor, we didn't collect the data by mistake. Do not overshare as well. This is related to what I said about the scope. Know your SPLA services scope. Do not give them something in that data that is not SPLA. Some of the customers I had to help to go through an audit and to cut the costs, the final bill, made that mistake. They would scan another couple of clusters, and then it appears that cluster is a dedicated cluster, which is not even in SPLA scope. The problem is you've already submitted it. And strictly speaking, if something is in your data center, you are responsible unless you have a letter from the customer telling otherwise. If you know that is dedicated, if you know that is not a SPLA-based hosting, there are no SPLA licenses at all, just do not give it to them. Careful. Next step. So you've gathered the data from the tool, from the scripts. What else you need to provide? What you'll be asked for. And by the way, that list will be given to you in the kickoff meeting. Why I want you to understand that list now is I would like you to get prepared before you even receive the audit letter. Being ready is much better compared to having to deal with the consequences. Customer contracts. What is the nature of the service? You won't have to provide the whole contract, but at least the snapshots from the contract that outline what the service is, how it's provided, who has access, when it was signed. Remember about those dates. Sometimes you may sign it in April and then stipulate in the contract that everything will be migrated to your data center by May. So you need that date, because otherwise you'll be counted back to February, January, whatever other month you signed the contract in. So you need that service commencement date very clearly stipulated. Any addendums, any change records, anything indicating when that server was put into production, when the certain groups were created, if you manage those groups. And by the way, if you're providing SPLA services, you actually are. I have no idea how Amazon circumvents that. You are supposed to manage the service, the assets for the customer. Hosting a black box in a SPLA environment is not strictly speaking in agreement with the SPLA terms. License verification forms. If you are an authorized license mobility partner, what I see, this is my experience, is the coverage for license mobility forms for the licenses that customers bring in from their license entitlement into your data centers. I would put my finger in the air and say, in your estate, it's probably 20%. That's the average across the industry. Make sure you go back to your customers, and if they deploy their own licenses into your estate, it's an outlined procedure. Ask them to submit those license verification forms to Microsoft, and then Microsoft will share them with you when they submit those forms. And then the licenses are attached to you for 90 days. These things you will have to provide to the auditor. If these verification forms will be missing, you're going to have a gap on your ELP. You're going to have a shortfall, because those licenses will be counted towards your responsibility, your shortfalls, and then you will have to commercially negotiate it with Microsoft. Do you want to do that? It's a simple operational measure. Just go to your customers, collect the forms. Your reporting history, I can't understate this. Find all the reports you submitted to your reseller. Find that. Because what the auditors will use for their comparison is an extract from the Microsoft's internal database of SPLA reporting. I've seen it. It's unreadable. Again, one of my examples, one of my customers I dealt with, they didn't have their own reporting history. Then they found that, but the auditor was already dealing with the extract from the Microsoft databases. We compared those sets of records from their internal procurement with what Microsoft gave back. Can you guess what was the percentage of matching records? Was it like 80%, 90, 70? Here we go, 15%. How, excuse my Russian, how the hell did it happen? I've no idea. But that's it. That's the quality of data that the customer received from Microsoft. If you've lost those reports, ask your reseller to look in their records, because they might still have them. Some of them lose them, some of them keep them. That's your secondary source. Find your own reporting records because they may not match what Microsoft have in their internal database. The reasons may be various, but you're only responsible for this first line, you to reseller. Then it's reseller's responsibility. If they cocked up, you understand what I mean.